Hugh Bunford said of McCartney's contribution, he took it with good nature. You kind of see how far you can go sometimes. We figured we already had bass and singers, so we didn't really need any more musicians. So we figured he could crunch some vegetables. Um, fucking Beatles. You wouldn't do that to Lennon. Anyway. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name's John. His name is Andy. Riding down the highway, going to a show, stopping all the byways, playing rock and roll, getting robbed, getting stoned, getting beat up, broken boned, getting had, getting tugged. I tell you, folks, it's harder than it looks. More on that later. But first, because it's Friday, yes, it is. A special Friday. We have a track to listen to suggested by one of our wonderful viewers. The wonderful viewer in question is Ian-FY6LC or Flash, but we'll just call him Ian. And he dropped a comment on a previous episode, Super Furry Animals Atomic Lust, which I remember you quite enjoyed.
Yes, I did.
It made the nearly list
Yeah.
at the end of the year, which is always an accolade. Anyway, Ian suggested that we listen to another Super Furry Animals track, No Sympathy. I already know this tune, so once again, Andy steps up to the bridge and we'll get his earlobes around this one.
Yes.
So how do you feel about another Super Furry Animals track?
I've honestly been looking forward to it. I really liked Atomic Lust. I went back and listened to it again recently, knowing that we were going to be featuring these guys again, which is probably my, I don't know, sixth or seventh listen to it since we did the episode. It's a great song. I'd be interested to hear what this sounds like in comparison, and like if they kind of tap into the same. That's the thing when you only listen to one song by them because you expect maybe we'll be listening to more of them down the line and you want to be, judicious about it. You really only have that one to go off of, and that's not really fair. So I don't know, this could sound similar to it or they could go another direction. All of that, I'm kind of intrigued to figure out what we're getting.
Just to correct you there, we also listened to a song called The Piccolo Snare on Into the Music.
Oh my, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely
But it
right.
wasn't that memorable, apparently.
No, but I do.
I mean, it was a while ago. We've had
Yeah.
a lot of songs under the bridge since then.
Yeah.
But it's been noted. Anyway, so you toddle off, have a listen to this, come back and tell us what you think.
Will do. Nice bass. I'm loving all this sonic texturing. Voice and the bass kind of go really well together. Oh, I love this.
You make me realize the I am not.
Okay, really quickly before it sounds like it's about to transition. Uh, Assuming that's the first verse, and obviously what came before it is the introduction, throughout both those parts, they employ this really lovely technique of adding all of this sonic texture to everything, whether it's the sort of twinkling sounds of the chimes, or the kind of strokes on the keys that add a little bit, even that odd bit of like echo to the guitar during the verse portion. And that's just the music, because the well, you could argue the vocals are music as well, but that part of the music, the vocal portion, they do the same thing where they introduced his sort of placid voice, which I like it because how, again, I think I said how it complements the bass and it sounds so nice together. But then in come these other voices that add this kind of like Crosby, Stills, Nash method of like adding texture and depth to the vocal tracks of the course, or of the song. Pardon me. And it sounds awesome. It sounds so good. Yeah, yeah. I'm really, really enjoying this. Let's see kind of where it goes from here. I think, like I said, we're about to transition to something.
Sympathy, sympathy. You want some, don't come to me. Don't try me for sympathy. I don't feel sorry for thee. You deserve to die.
Damn.
You deserve to die.
You deserve to die. Oh, even that. Hmm.
I have no adjectives for you, and have no feelings for who you are. I feel no empathy for you. You make me realize the who I am now. Sympathy,
All right. This is the chorus.
you want some, don't come to me. Don't try me for sympathy. I don't feel sorry for thee. You deserve to die. You deserve to die.
That's harsh. Oh. All these little taps. It's a great cymbal work here. Oh, that bass sounds so good with this part. Let's pick it up here. Okay. Okay. Wow. Yeah. What the what? Uh, I did not have the last, I don't know, 20% of that song uh in on my bingo card. I did not know that we were going to get this interesting calamitous digital wave of sound. Uh, you know, this manic house music injected into the, the last fifth of the song. I didn't see that coming. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Um, golly, it's like the tale of two different portions. Yet as a whole, I really, really enjoyed that listen, and I'll go back and listen to this again and give it more time to kind of wash over me. But what an interesting decision to dovetail that into the last portion. I don't want to fault I don't fault them at all for thinking outside of the box and doing something that was completely unexpected. I didn't see that coming, and they deserve credit for doing it. And I don't think they could have pulled this off in a seamless way if they wanted to go about doing this. Um, but it was still successful, even though it wasn't, as I just suggested, in my opinion, seamless. It caught me off guard, and it's not one of those things where I'm in the middle of it and I realize they've done it. No, I like right when they went there, I'm like, what the hell is this? But I don't know. I kind of liked it. I thought it was a really interesting, odd decision, but one that, for whatever reason, turned out to be one that I really enjoyed. As a whole, I thought it was an awesome song. I thought the just the harmonies and the vocals by everyone involved were superb. The guitar work, the drum work was so tasteful and precise and sounded the cymbal work was really lush sounding. The bass work, all those little, like, points where things would cut back to let the bass shine as it walked beneath some of the other portions of the track was sounded awesome. Ugh, there's so much to like about this and not enough really or anything for me to really gripe about. So that's got to be a ringing endorsement, right? On a first listen. It is interesting and it is different and it is a little odd what they did with this toward the end, but I think that is like musically a brave, bold decision that, again, from my perspective, really worked out. So I thought the lyrics were really interesting because at the beginning, I mean, like no sympathy kind of conveys, or one can infer from that, a sense of apathy. But what's the old saying? God, I can't remember, the Bill Russell or somebody once said and who knows, that's probably falsely attributed, but the opposite of love isn't hate, because both require some level of passion. The opposite of both of them is apathy. Um, but I don't think that this individual's is the singer, the narrator is apathetic because they dismount with that, conveying to the subject of the lyrics that they should die, which is harsh and rooted in some amount of feeling and emotion toward that person. So, not a song of apathy, certainly not a song of sympathy either, as well illustrated throughout the lyrics. But yet, very interesting subject matter. I wonder who the uh, the object of his ire is. Yeah, lots to ask about. Hopefully, and I'm sure he's done his homework, and John can fill me in on it. But yeah, let's get back to him and discuss a really interesting uh, first listen to a even more interesting song.
Nicholas Witchell, he's back. So you've had to listen to Sympathy, No Sympathy by SFA. What do you reckon?
There's a lot to reckon with this one, and yeah, I really enjoyed this song. It was interesting for some pretty obvious reasons that we'll get into as I go through my notes here.
Harmony. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing. one thing, but I don't think it's the biggest thing that stood out when you take a step back after the full listen. But it starts off with this really interesting, ominous sound in the distance, followed by these kind of like almost metronomic taps on the cymbals that give way to these chime-like tinkling sounds. Then comes this really pretty like bluesy guitar work and some light work via these organ like strokes on the keys. And all of these parts slowly grow and mesh together as the intro kind of progresses and takes shape. And the singer begins this low, kind of placid delivery that is soon complemented by some stellar harmonies. Now, I'll say it really stood out to me a couple times throughout this assembly period and into this verse, which in and of itself kind of blossoms as it goes on. So that whole stretch from intro to the chorus is all this like opening up and changing and becoming that's going on. And one, and this continues throughout the song, but just the textural, the sonic textures and variants that they add and pop in at different times is so goddamn intriguing. And it's a subtle thing, but when you put them all in, they collectively become a much bigger thing that adds so much to what you're listening to, and became a lot of my like just the slight echo of a guitar that kind of moves in the distance, or the way that chiming sound occur. It's just all fucking awesome, man. I really, really love that a lot. But also, go ahead.
I don't want to spoil things, but I will just say this because you just mentioned it. They also released it as a DVD, and then the DVD they had this special spatial sonic awareness thingy, whatever you want to call it. So if you listen to it through that, you actually get these things sounding like they're
Oh,
coming
wow.
around you, and it's really something else.
That's going to be worth checking out then. Is that like readily available? Could I find it? Could I find that version? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I will be checking that out. But yeah, the other thing is the way the bass and his voice sound together at the beginning of that verse. It's funny because you're about to get like actual harmonies, vocal harmonies. But at this point, he is harmonizing with the bass like an octave higher than the bass note, but still low. Like he's a low baritone at this point, almost a bass. The bass is definitely, and it just sounds so goddamn rich when they hit at the very beginning there. So yeah, all of this is really sticking out to me. I'm loving everything so far. There are these little echoes and touches by the guitar are great, and they add all these this dash of texture to the song and nuance. And I'm really, really appreciating it. The lyrics paint a pretty vivid picture as it relates to the narrator's lack of sympathy for the object of his lyrics. The individual makes him realize who he is and who he is not. And the chorus conveys more of this from my perspective, really this kind of apathy toward the individual, but it dismounts with something beyond apathy, or maybe not even beyond apathy. Maybe it doesn't reach apathy, because I think I mentioned this in the review in real time, but there's this saying where it's like the opposite of love is not hate, and vice versa. The opposite of both is apathy, because both love and hate require some degree of passion. It's just on a different sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Whereas apathy has none of that. But when he's wishing someone dead, that screams he cares. It's just on what end of the spectrum he does. I think you pretty much know when he says he wants you fucking dead or thinks you deserve to die, what end of the spectrum that is. But it's not apathy. But it does still lack sympathy, as he conveys over and over again lyrically. So yeah, interesting stuff. It kind of I thought, okay, we have this sort of the way he started the song almost sounded like it was emotionless, so it led me to believe this is to convey the apathy, but no, he surprised me with and then the way he repeats that line, and it becomes like, I don't know, it's the lightest, prettiest part of the whole vocal delivery. It's really ironic. So I chuckled every time that came around because of that weird dynamic between the music sound and the morbid lyric. So yeah, very interesting stuff. I have to emphasize again, because it's really worth noting, that these multi-tiered layered harmonies are just fucking fabulous. It had
Yeah.
this like folksy, sort of whimsical sound to it, despite the darker narrative, and I thought that that was really cool. And again, like we get to this, we get this shines again in this next portion where we get the bridge and the ba da ba 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 ba, like that whole like that fun vocal line that they do, and repeat over again, and it has this really like, and this will forever be my, I know there's plenty of bands who have done this, but this will forever be my comparison to that. But it has this Crosby, Stills, and Nash kind of just energy to it and sound to it that always is like home cooking to me, because I grew up on a lot of that stuff because my old man. So loved that sound. Big
And
shout out.
Young.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And Young.
Oh yes, and
Because
Young
Nash
from,
and Young.
yes, and from time to time. He didn't always feature with Crosby, Stills, and
Yeah.
Nash, but yes, when he did, they stuck with the same thing, harmonies, and it beautiful stuff. Um,
Yeah.
Big shout out to the beauty of the acoustic guitar. Also in this, just that it's got this like hypnotic strumming to it at points that you really fall into. Also, another shout out to the bass, who continually, as the other players kind of pull back at times, the bass work shines a little bit with some nice walking underneath, and I really loved the sound of that as well. The pace picks up during this bridgy portion, and the hi-hats start moving a bit, and just before the song is merged with this very interesting and unexpected techno-like digital bath that we're just tossed into, which I did not have in my bingo card at all. All kinds of digital calamity breaks loose, with this like bit of fuzz and knob twisting sounds ricocheting around the soundscape in this frenetic and manic fashion, before it eventually devolves into this dying, hissing sound that appears it won't go down without a fight, but eventually relents, and we're left with the silence. And this was truly an interesting song. I don't use that term like just flippantly. Like there was so much interesting about this. It's just the decisions made and how it was all crafted and cobbled together. The beauty of the intricacies of the first 80% of the song like really shined and displayed a kind of deft craftsmanship, to how it was put together, and the juxtaposition of that beauty with this frenzied and feverish last 20% of the song, cut from a completely different cloth, written in a completely different style, was without question unexpected. As the fact that and as was the fact that it somehow all kind of worked together, like despite all odds. I have to give them credit for merging these two very disparate sounds, and it wasn't seamless. You know what I mean? Like I didn't get into it and then realize 15 seconds into it, oh my god, they changed it. I didn't see that. No, like you're like, what the instantly from the moment they decide to do it, you notice it. But I mean, how could it be seamless? But I do respect the concept and the effort, to pull it off. I can't remember the last time I was truly stunned by a development in a song we've done on this channel, but this certainly caught me unawares, as this musical development would be one of the last things I expected, outside of like it shifting into gangsta rap or traditional polka or goddamn Gregorian chanting. So, like, definitely, blindsided me with this, but in the best way. And I think they did it in the best way possible. So hats off to them for thinking outside the box and creating something that's honestly intriguing as a result. And I had a good old time giving this thing a listen, and would love to learn more about this song. And like, if there's any information out there, this idea, what birthed the idea of that last 15 to 20% of the song, because it really was wildly outside of the box.
Okay, thanks for that. That's interesting. Yeah, if you know super furry animals, they have the capacity for doing this, and they've done this in other stuff with a more gentle ramp up, but they have done this sort of thing.
I instantly went back to the other song, the Atomic Lust had this like tale of two portions kind of thing, where it's like folksy, and then it builds up into this like psychedelic late 60s, early 70s rock anthem almost. But you can see how those two genres coexisted with one another around the same time. This is like really like I don't know, it's like square peg round hole situation yet again, it did work for me. It's just very it was a leap forward in this methodology that they had used before, and from my perspective.
I mean, they've done sort of folksy stuff, indie stuff in particular, and sort of dancey techno stuff right from the word go.
Okay.
They used to turn up to their gigs in a fucking tank and all that, anyway. Really interesting guys and really interesting sound. My sort of actually playing with this, I've known this song for a long time. I'd say on this album, there's at least three, if not probably no, four standout songs that I really, really rate, and this is one of them, definitely. Um, and it has an amazing feel to it, as you say. Um, it's almost like it's sort of the texture of it's almost like sort of misty, foggy, dry, icy, almost, where it's
Mm.
swirling at the start, and then you get to this hard edge bit afterwards, which is again really interesting. But we'll get into that. So, as we've discussed, we've already done some Super Furry Animals before. I'll put a link into the previous episodes and all about the band, etc. So we won't go into the details on that, just on this album that it comes from. So just to remind, Super Furry Animals are a Welsh band. They were formed in Cardiff in 1993. The personnel, which remained constant, I believe, throughout their career, apart from the lead singer, the actor. Oh, I can't remember his name, but it's not important. So, Gruff Rhys, lead vocals, rhythm guitar, keyboards, harmonica. This is for the whole album. Hugh Bunford, lead guitar, keyboards, backing vocals, pedal steel. Gutto Price, bass guitar. Sian Sharon on keyboards and backing vocals, and Dafydd Lewin on drums, backing vocals. And he also did co-lead vocals on Receptacle for the Respectable track. He does that on a couple of other stuff bits as well, other albums.
I wanted to jump in because you just mentioned the drummer, and I don't think I touched on this enough. But I remember in Atomic, like being impressed by the precise simplicity of the drums, and it reminding me a lot of Ringo's style of playing. There was more of that precision in this too, especially the cymbal work. Like he's up on the ride a little bit at times, and it's really lush. Sounds great. Nothing that's gonna blow the glass out your windows, but it's like it's almost like a mature style of drumming. It's just really nice and cleaned up and tidy, and I appreciated that as well. So sorry.
Totally appropriate to this track as well.
Yeah.
So the album Rings Around the World, that one there, is the fifth studio album, and it was actually their major label debut. Epic Records that came out on, and was released in July 2001. And it's the first album by any artist to be simultaneously released on both audio CD and DVD. The record reached number 3 in the UK album charts. So, in terms of the write-up here, musically, Rings Around the World is an eclectic record incorporating pop, prog, punk, jungle, electronica, techno, and death metal. Rhys has offered several explanations of the album's lyrical content, claiming the record is about, quotes, Earth and the pollution of space, and also that it addresses the human condition. Critics, meanwhile, have referred to the record as thematically eccentric and lacking an overarching theme, like it fucking has to. Critical reception was really positive, and the album was nominated for 2001's Mercury Music Prize. Some reviews claimed it to be the best record of the band's career to date, although The Enemy described it as the band's worst album. In a 2008 interview with Uncut, Rhys described the album as a very ambitious project, stating that, in quotes, "We were trying to make a blockbuster album that was going to be like the Eagles. We were trying to make utopian pop music that had pretensions of being progressive and exciting. The album was originally going to be called Text Messaging is Destroying the Pub Quiz as We Know It." And it was going to be released as a double album containing between 75 and 90 minutes of material. With Rhys stating that he was into the excess of it. And that was the whole point. As I mentioned, the DVD itself features a surround sound mix alongside the music videos and remixes. And this is only possible with the financial backing of Epic that I just signed to. So, fair enough. Amongst the cast of extra players and other musicians is a one you may have heard of him, Paul McCartney.
Oh,
Um, and he is credited with providing celery and carrot on the track Receptable for the Respectable. McCartney is alleged to have performed a similar role over 30 years earlier, chewing celery to form the percussion track of the Beach Boys song Vegetables from the album Smiley Smile. The Super Furry Animals have met him at an Enemy Awards when a drunken Siren persuaded him to let them remix some Beatles material, resulting in 2000's Liverpool Sound collage album. The band asked him to return the favour and appear on Rings Around the World, recording his part over the phone. Hugh Burnford said of McCartney's contribution, he took it with good nature. You kind of see how far you can go sometimes. We figured we already had bass and singers, so we didn't really need any more musicians. So we figured he could crunch some vegetables. Um, fucking Beatles. You wouldn't do that to Lennon. Anyway.
I'd be afraid to ask Lennon. Yeah.
Former Velvet Underground member John Cale, who is a sort of childhood hero of Reese, also makes an appearance in the album playing piano on the song Presidential Suite. The Super Furry Animals have met Cale in Cardiff when they acted as his backing band for a song which appeared on the film Beautiful Mistake. They originally asked him to arrange strings for Presidential Suite, but Cale turned them down, reasoning that he would simply do what the band do, hum a melody to someone who could write the music down for him. So that's why he ended up playing piano. I think that's quite cool. Yeah, so within the write-ups here, that people describe the album as a kaleidoscope blend of pop, prog, psych, punk, electronica. Drowned in Sound described it as Beach Boys-esque psychedelic pop put to a techno undertones. And they highlighted No Sympathy has been described as, get this, the missing link between Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, scattered harmonies, jungle hi-hats, and berserk sampler techno. On the track No Sympathy, Reese said, and taken out of context, it's kind of a scary lyric and a bit of a departure for me as a lyric writer. So I was quite pleased with it in a good way or bad way. And I suppose I think about different people every time I sing it. Although it's not exactly the way my mind works, I think I swing, I have bouts of ecstasy, I have bouts of feeling completely ecstatic and really loved up and positive, and, utopian and optimistic. And that side of me comes out in songs like Juxtaposed, which is grotesque in its upness and lift. And then I can speak myself completely in something like No Sympathy. Rings Around the World, the album received praise from critics and got a score of 86 on Metacritic, universal acclaim. Pitchfork stated that the album combination of paisley, sun-heated and layered music with Gruff Rhys's satirical and heartfelt lyrics makes it timeless and the band's best record. Pop Matters called the record near perfect and wrote that we should be thankful that there are bands out there willing to throw everything they've got into a record just to see what happens. They certainly did that. The Independent opined that Rings Around the World represents a quantum jump beyond the Furry's previous work and described it as one of the year's most engrossing and crucially most entertaining albums. And Mojo stated that Rings Around the World was the band's first truly flawless album and later named it their best album of 2001. So yeah, lyrics. I have no sympathy for you. You make me realize who I am. I have no sympathy for thee. You make me realize who I am not. Sympathy, sympathy, you want some, don't come to me. Don't try me for sympathy, I don't feel sorry for thee. You deserve to die. You deserve to die. I have no adjectives for you, and no feelings for the who you are. I feel no empathy for you. You make me realize the who I am not. Sympathy, sympathy, you want some, don't come to me. Don't try me for sympathy, I don't feel sorry for thee. You deserve to die. You deserve to die. Bada bada ba ba bada bada. Bada bada ba ba bada bada. And this goes on for a while, I'm not going to do the whole lot, but it increases in speed, which
Yeah.
is another sort of Super Furries technique that they do. So they introduce sort of elements of almost dance into it. And then after that, we get what I've described as an intergalactic blaster flight in what sounds like the shuttle bay. And this is mixed in with a Cylon workout tape, which we hear slowly being chewed by a Walkman as we listen, or instrumental. And as it comes to the end. So I've got a couple of quotes here just to finish these off, which is quite funny. This is on ringsaroundtheworld.co.uk. And Griffiths said about the song, he said, I think it will make a good football chant. You deserve to die. I wrote it for a film called Plop that was being done by a group called Fuck Me 99 last year. So, or say Fook Me, Fukme. It was a film about a group of selfish people who go around imagining they were living their last days, being very primal for their last moments, but you didn't feel any sympathy for any of the characters. When you take the song out of context, it sounds really heavy. But at the same time, you had George W. Bush coming into power, and he'd been sticking people on death row willy-nilly. By the time we were recording it for the album in America, there were some pretty barbaric things going on. The fact that the attitude to human life is becoming less and less respectful. So I was George Bush singing, which is not pleasant. It is such an ambiguous lyric. We wanted to make it clear which side of the fence we stand. It's also then followed by the song Juxtaposed with You, which is a completely different opposite lyric. No sympathy is quite an unsettling song. And then the second quote is from Bump, who says, we turned up and we said, we finished the track. And the A&R man said, that's great. As long as you haven't got a 10-minute fucking techno bit at the end. We went, you better have a listen.
It's not 10 minutes.
So yeah, it's stuff they've done before. I mean, I do love this song. I'm halfway in between the critics. It's not my favorite album of theirs. But what they really try to do some stuff on here and experiment. And you know, you do that and it doesn't work for everybody. I have no issue with bands trying to do that sort of thing, you know. And you know, I continued following them after this album, and I think some of their other stuff is you know, that follows on from this is fantastic. So they still kept growing and developing.
Mhm.
But you can almost hear the intelligence in their approach. You know, they're really thoughtful and considerate about what they're trying to create. And even from their very debut album, it's outstanding, really. And it's just it's on the cusp of Britpop. It's not really Britpop at all, but at the time that was coming through. But it's so much more than that, and they're so thoughtful and just really interesting. And then all that cultural stuff as well, the sort of references they whack in.
Yeah.
It's a really, really special band. But you just kind of argue they have also got a real ear for a tune. They really have. And then you whack in things like those harmonies and stuff, and you know. And this is such a different song to Atomic Lust, you know, but it's still got that sort of feel from them about it. You know, know it's them.
That's what I meant when I was talking about like it's like the machinations turned up to 11, whereas it may have been like a healthy 4.5 in Atomic Lust. Is like they really went for this whole transition thing. But
there's ones that are bigger than that. There really are.
Yeah, I would imagine. It only speaks to like my very narrow viewpoint I have of the band, having only heard 3 songs of them. So, but even still, I'm still able to extrapolate some of the things that you're sort of affirming. Like I heard deft craftsmanship from like a musical standpoint in this, and you're saying yes, they have this like intelligence about them, and I'm like, yeah, that's the vibe I got when I listened to all their stuff to this point. So yeah, it's good shit, man. I'd be happy to check out more of these guys.
Yeah, it's so well worth it. I'll probably dig something out for you.
Okay,
cool. I'll wrap things up. Thanks so much, Ian, for this is a really good shout. Both enjoyed listening to it. Obviously, Andy for the first time, but always happy to listen to it. Furries. Yeah, great stuff. So, folks out there, tell us what you think. If you like this, please do hit the like button. Drop some comments. Tell us what you think about this song, this album, how it sort of hit with you if you're a fan of them. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. Always interesting to hear your viewpoints. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Really appreciate everybody who does support the channel. And if you're thinking, how come I've done one of these songs? Simple. Just drop a suggestion in there. We'll add it to the list, the list, the list. And one day your boat will come in. That being said, thanks again so much for watching. And we'll see all of you in the next episode of The Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.